Hey, let's talk wire strippers. So this was like the first pair I ever had. And I got these because they did coax and they were kind of labeled to deal with the inside and the outside layers of the coax. And it also had these handy crimpers on them for different kinds of coax connectors. So your PL259s and so on and so forth. So I've had these for a long time. I still use them occasionally, but unless I'm going to make a coax jumper, these really don't come out very often. So that's that pair. I'd like to get rid of these, but because they work on coax pretty well, I probably won't. This pair here, it tries to do 1,000 things, and it does some of them really well and others not very well. It's a very thin piece of hardware, so if you find yourself having to work with something pretty heavyweight, it struggles with that. But it's got good strippers on it here, and they're clearly labeled, and it can handle pretty large gauge wire, like 8 gauge and 10 gauge. Up here on this end, there's some crimpers that are good for putting connectors on different gauges of wire. And it's a good crimper, but again, it's really thin. So it's a little bit of work sometimes to get the crimp on there really tight. And it does a few other things that I don't use. So this pair is probably pretty expendable, but it's not gone yet. This pair here only does one thing. Well, it does two. So it's got a cutter, and then it's got the strippers, pretty clearly labeled by gauge, but it doesn't do 10 gauge it does not do 10 gauge very well. And I do a lot of 10 gauge work, making power pole terminated cables for my portable kits and stuff. And it does have a pair of pliers at the very end. Never really got around to using this tool because it was just kind of small, kind of wimpy. So that's probably pretty expendable. Now this pair here, let me adjust my camera here. This pair here is basically a brute force wire stripper. So you put let me adjust the camera. Let me get this lined up here. So you feed the wire into this channel right here, and it's very gauge agnostic. It is not specific to gauge. You put the wire in there and then pull on it, and it grabs the wire from two ends, and then it just pulls the insulation off. It does more tearing than cutting. It works well on really small gauge stuff, but the bigger the gauge, the more trouble you're going to have. And this pair here, this has become my new favorite. It's from Klein Tools, as some of the others are as well. It's very stout, very heavy duty, and it does 8 and 10 gauge, 10 gauge specifically, really, really well. Now, because it's stout, you kind of have to, once you get the insulation cut, because of 10 gauge wire being what it is, it's more work to get the insulation off after you've stripped it than it is to actually make the cut. But it cuts very accurately, and I like it a lot. I got this pair on Amazon just last week. So those are all my strippers. This is my new go-to. This one I'll probably keep around because how well it works on coax. And the rest of these, I don't know what I'm going to do with those. I don't like keeping tools around, but I have gotten the affliction where it's hard to get rid of stuff. So we'll see. I'll let you guys know. Thanks for watching. See you next time.